Motion detected at your front door. It all started on a chilling late night, jolting me from my sleep. The piercing tone of the motion alert from my doorbell camera echoed through the silent expanse of my house, nestled within a thick, all-consuming forest. I groaned, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and reaching for the phone on my bedside table. I squinted against the harsh glare, checking the notification. Motion detected at your front door. A slight unease crept over me. My house stood miles away from civilization, the nearest neighbor a half-hour's drive away. With no one expected at this ungodly hour, I opened the app, half expecting to see a woodland creature or an errant gust of wind. The screen displayed the usual deserted porch, the quiet night scene filled only with the low hum of the forest. I dismissed it as a false alarm, turning off the phone and sinking back into the soft embrace of sleep. However, what I thought was a one-time incident soon turned into a nightly haunting. The same alert, at the exact same time, in the eerie quiet of the night. Each time, the scene was undisturbed, the tranquility of the porch at odds with the building apprehension within me. It became a ritual, an unwelcome visitor in my once peaceful slumber. The curiosity that had been gnawing at me finally won over my unease. One night, I decided to stay awake, eyes glued to the live feed of my camera. The night was particularly quiet, the seconds ticking by in anticipation. As expected, the motion alert chimed, but the porch remained devoid of any activity. Just as I was about to chalk it up to a technical glitch, I noticed something peculiar, the date timestamp on the feed. For about a minute, the date jumped forward exactly 1 year and then snapped back. The discovery was disconcerting. However, I decided it was a software glitch and decided I would contact tech support in the morning. A software glitch would have been the best conclusion to this issue, but unfortunately, it was far from that. Driven by the same morbid curiosity, the following night I found myself staring at the feed again. As the clock struck the dreaded hour, the date flickered, and I saw it. A figure, wavering and barely discernible, appeared at the edge of the porch. My heart pounded in my chest, the figure disappearing as the date returned to the present. The following days were a blur. Every night, as the time approached, I found myself before the screen, waiting for the anomaly. The figure, clearer with each passing night, was drawing closer to the door, a dreadfully slow yet persistent approach. The realization hit me hard. It was a man, haggard and desperate, eerily familiar. On the 7th night, my heart froze as the figure came into full view. The man was at my front door, pounding urgently, his terrified eyes scanning the surrounding wilderness. At that moment, my worst fears were realized. The man in the feed was me. The image seared into my mind, the sight of myself as a desperate, terrified figure, etching a chilling prophecy. I was caught in a loop, a prisoner of my own impending future. The reality of it was horrifying, a timeline already etching itself into existence, 1 minute at a time. A year. I had a year to figure out why I would be that panicked figure, pounding at my own door. I wondered what could possibly instill such terror in me, and more importantly, could I change this seemingly inevitable fate? The questions haunted me, the echoes of my future self knocking on the door reverberating in my mind, turning my once peaceful home into a house of dread. The countdown had begun, my fight against time and fate kicking off on a somber note. The lingering question was, what was I, or rather future me, so scared of? In the months that followed, I lived with an impending sense of doom, the clock steadily ticking towards the 1-year mark. My days were filled with dread, my nights with nightmares echoing the chilling door-pounding image. I read books, consulted with every expert who'd listen, and spent countless hours online, all in a desperate attempt to decode the message my future self seemed to be delivered. Despite my efforts, the answers remained elusive. It had been 6 months, and the night arrived. My pulse raced as the digital clock on my phone crept closer to the dreaded hour. As I opened the doorbell camera feed, a chill ran down my spine. There I was, a desperate version of myself hammering at the door. This time, however, something was different. The spectral me glanced over his shoulder, fear stark in his eyes, and one thing stood out from my previous encounters with my future self. He was covered in blood, head to toe, streaks of blood rushing down his head, dry and fresh layers, and he mouthed a single word before disappearing. Run. An icy dread filled me. What was I running from? Or rather, what would I be running from a year from now? Panic set in, but I reminded myself that fear wasn't going to solve anything. Determined to change my future, I spent the following months preparing for any imaginable threat. I upgraded my home security, took self-defense classes, and even got a trained guard dog, Max. A year passed. The night that once felt so far away was here. Max and I waited, watching the live feed on the porch. The seconds turned into minutes, and soon the dreaded hour arrived. I braced myself for the sight of my terrified self. But, to my surprise, the timestamp changed as usual, yet there was no sign of me. A sigh of relief left my lips. I had changed my fate. As I started to relax, I heard a low growl from Max to me, but I assured him that everything was okay. After ensuring the doors were locked and my security system was on, I began to get ready for bed. Walking into the bathroom, I began to wash my face with the icy water, only to open my eyes again and see turbid, dark water. I had my bathroom light off at the time, so I immediately turned it on so I could see the water before it went down the drain. It was red, dark red. That's when I looked up. There was blood running down my head, dry and fresh layers. In between myself and the mirror was an imprint of the words that I had seen 6 months ago, written in blood. Run. My phone buzzed. Motion detected at your front door.